This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome, listeners, to Postcards from the Edge. I'm your host, Amy Nelson, and with me this week is Davis Grayson. Davis, thank you for coming on Postcards, and I believe this is your first time, so why don't you tell our listeners who you are and a little bit about your Trek story?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on board. It has been a pleasure listening to all the shows dealing with Discovery, so I really do appreciate it. I have been a part of Trek FM since, I want to say, 2013 or 14.
Oh, wow.
First time I heard Chris Jones and Matt Rushing talk about literary treks. So that has been quite a long time. So, and I've actually worked with you, voiced with you one time with.
We were on a round table.
Yeah, we were on the round tables together. That's right.
It was, my first round table, and you were there. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I have been a huge Star Trek fan for many, many of years. I know I was even talking to someone about it today that somebody said they wouldn't wait so long in line for someone or anything. And I said, the only time I've ever waited for a long time was 6 hours. And it was in Atlanta. It was at a Star Trek convention. And lo and behold, it was Patrick Stewart.
Oh, my goodness.
And found out he was doing his little question and answer time. And I was probably 15 at the time. So it was probably 90, I want to say, 89, okay. 90, something like that. So they actually said with his meet and greet, there's he's only signing autographs for 2 hours and that's it. He's done. So even with the getting into the Star Trek convention, you weren't guaranteed that you were going to get the autograph. So my uncle, God bless him, my uncle and I sat waiting to get an autograph, and we waited for 6 hours. We got the autograph.
Oh, thank goodness there's a happy ending there.
we both got the autograph, and he was very nice. But, I think about it now because as a 15-year-old going, I'm never going to see this guy again. But now, how many conventions has he been to and everything? But I actually did not have to pay anything except for the admission of the ticket. So, you know what?
Oh,
I
times have changed.
Lucked out. Yes.
Wow, that is great. Oh, my goodness. Well, we need to get you out to Star Trek Las Vegas one of these years.
Eventually we will, yeah. Eventually
yes.
we will, yeah.
Well, today we are going to discuss the fan response to Episode 12, Vaulting Ambition. Now, if you would like to participate and share your response, please post your comments on the Babel Conference. That's our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, B-A-B-E-L, into the search field and it will come right up. And every Sunday, I post a picture of Discovery inside an envelope. And that is where I pull the comments from. So we will get excited for this episode. There were so many comments, listeners. So excited to read them all. I think there was, what did I say? 462.
Yes.
Right? Was that? Yeah. As of this recording. And this is the most commented that we've had for all of the episodes. So very appreciative for everyone commenting. And we have so many to read. So we are going to get right into it. Now, Davis, What was your initial thoughts on seeing Vaulting Ambition?
I love the episode, and I don't know. And I know a lot of people, I think one of the biggest negative, if you want to say comments, was the episode was way too short. I mean,
Yes.
But if that's the only thing I can really say, it's too short. Hey, it's too short. But I really enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed seeing Stamets with Mirror Universe Stamets, and I love the scene with him and Culber together. I mean, it was just really great. And some of the parts I was kind of iffy with the eye sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of all played out and made sense that Lorca was Mirror Universe Lorca. But, you have to say, we've already figured out these fan theories for how long now?
Yes, right.
And everything has just come to light. I think it's come to the point where us fans of Star Trek have gone, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. And sure enough, that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think the listeners did a really good job in summarizing everything. And so we definitely will hit all of those topics. So Christopher Littlefield says, Disco consistently outdoes itself. I think this is the best episode yet, and one of the best Mirror Universe episodes ever. It was especially violent, but hey, it's a tough universe. Emperor Giorgio's execution of the council was awesome, and I loved how quickly the one she let live said yes when she asked him if he could keep a secret. I said it out loud at the same time and totally laughed. I think we'll be here for quite a while, especially without the spores. Culber's scene totally broke my heart. Yet again, I was in tears. My jaw dropped several times, especially at the end with one of the better kept secrets of the season. I can't say I was totally shocked, but the reveal while Burnham puts it all together with Giorgio was just brilliant. Seems like they complement each other no matter which universe the other's from. The one clue that I've held on to all this time was the scar on Lorca's back that Admiral Cornwell did not recognize. Everything else could have been explained in another way. Props to Laurel's death scream. Mary Chieffo is totally redefining what it means to be Klingon female. Rest in peace, Voke. Long live Tyler. Yay and yum. And can we talk about poor Mirror Saru? Pass the ganglia, please. Oof.
Now, wasn't it determined that it was not Saru, though?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Clinton German, I should say, even though the twists in Disc have largely been predicted, the confirmations, reveals have been great. The poor Keplians. Did I say that right? Keplians?
Yeah, I think it's actually Kelpians.
They cannot catch a break in any universe. I am continually touched by Stamets and Culber's love story, maybe the best in Star Trek. And I will agree with that.
Absolutely. I agree as well. Hugo Rodriguez says, pacing is getting better, although Stamets scenes were a bit of a filler. Note the gory splash instead of the usual Star Trek death-setting kill. It seems the Discovery Mirror Universe is not just the evil version of a character from now on. It's more complicated, and I like it. It's just one of the alternate universes.
I agree with that. So Ian Bartholomew says, ugh, my heart was broken for Paul and Hugh, and I'm gutted that Mirror Lorca probably means no Jason Isaacs in season 2 and beyond, but what a good episode. If each show is a chapter in the story, I'm ready to turn the page now for the next installment.
Yes, very excited to see where this is going. Now, I know you talked about that it was a short episode and there was many a fan screaming the same thing. Michael Mark says, man, that was short. Only animated series episodes are shorter.
And Lee Hutchinson, call me Hutch, no issue at all if episodes are slightly longer or shorter, whatever works best for the writers and the team. He's got a point.
Yeah.
He's got a point to that, yeah.
Dave Scarpa says, what the bleep? This week Discovery was 37 minutes long. What the bleep? We had 2 bleeps there.
So Justin Osser also says the second episode was about the same length. The length of the episodes has varied, but many of them are actually longer than what we saw from 1987 to 2005. I think it was a great episode, and if it only takes 37 minutes to do what it needs to do, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think the timing, you use what you need. And having fillers, I don't know if that's good, or trying to rush things. So I agree with Justin. I have to. He's my co-host. And Janessa Chiharda says, very, very annoyed this episode was only 36 minutes and 20 seconds long without counting credits or next week's preview. Seriously, I'm pissed. There's been episodes up to 46 minutes, and this is 10 minutes shorter. So there was definitely some fan response about the length of this episode. Now, another hot topic is our Voke and Tyler. And Dennis Belanger, I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. Once again, Disco does not appoint. Went by too fast. If I got Laurel's Howell right, Voke is now dead and Tyler is back? ?
And Dan McWilliams writes, if she just killed off Voke, that resolved way too fast for me. And I have to agree, but I have to wonder if it's just done.
I know. I really felt that there was no closure for me. And I know they went through and, he was struggling and, being tortured, having two personalities, but that resolution was not enough for me because we'd had so many episodes dealing with Tyler and, his Vogue supposedly. I don't know. It just wasn't good for me. Chris Littlefield again says, I think that the operation Laurel was attempting was to remove the weaker personality. She assumed incorrectly that it was Tyler's. Nothing like good old Starfleet training and experience. So I don't know what her plan was, if she was trying to remove Tyler or remove Vogue. I don't know.
That is a question we hopefully will see addressed before the end of this season.
Yes.
So Janessa
Chiharda.
I apologize. I think Voq and Tyler merged, hence why Tyler spoke the Klingon prayer in English. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Chris Chaplin says, thoughts on Ash and Vogue. Did Laurel kill the Vogue personality? Her roar would indicate it. What place does a human disguised Klingon with reconstructed human memories have on a Federation starship? I'm glad the actor will stick around, but his character just got even more complex.
Indeed.
Agreed. Yeah.
So Andrew Gallagher writes, so what really happened to Vogue and Tyler? Culber said previously that his organs universally showed signs of scar tissue from the surgical scenes we saw, but Laurel said the Klingons harvested the real Tyler's DNA. Is it Vogue's body, surgically altered and genetically resequenced? If so, why did Laurel seemingly remove Vogue's personality in favor of Tyler's implanted one, as indicated by her death roar? Is this just further Klingon duplicity that she stabilizes Vogue's personality so he can continue spying? And Andrea Boot said, from what I understand, and I may be wrong, the Klingons captured the real Ash Tyler at the Battle of the Binary Stars. They harvested his DNA and personality and implanted them into surgically altered body of Vogue. This edited version of Vogue Tyler was placed on the sarcophagus ship when he was picked up by Lorca.
Yeah, there's definitely some unanswered questions here about what really happened and who's dead, and is one personality dead, or is it just, as what Andrew was saying, stabilized and Vogue might show up again? I don't know.
If we set out the fan theory now, I think it'll be resolved before we know it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been pretty good with doing every single thing. So I said, let's go ahead and set this up now.
Yeah. Well, another hot topic is that we got finally the reveal of Lorca is from the Mirror Universe. And Dan McWilliams says, holy crap. So Lorca is really starting to remind me of Harrison Wells in The Flash. And I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, but
he is the kind of the mentor for Barry in season 1. Come to find out, spoiler alert, come to find out he was the Earth 2 version. No, I'm sorry, not the Earth 2 version, but he was Professor Zoom, and he had come back in time. And then the Earth 2 version of him was kind of, then there's another one. So the guy who plays Harrison Wells is a pretty good actor. Let's just say that.
Okay. Well, he continues and says, makes me wonder if we'll see him again in season 2, but the other version. I'm starting to wonder if Starfleet Command was in on this somehow. The biggest question is how he got to our universe to begin with. And what was it about him that made them want to give him one of the experimental ships? Those are great questions.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So Seth Dresser writes, I bet he used Mira Stamets' spore drive to get to the Prime universe somehow. Even if it was an accident, he could have used the knowledge to assemble the Prime Discovery crew for his own purposes.
Well, and we know he assembled that crew, including Michael, so. Ken Tripp says, not happy that Lorca is from the Mirror Universe, though it has been suggested forever. I guess it means in the Prime, all captains are infallible. It could have been fun watching Lorca get help and grow. I do love that the show has a plan from the start, just wish it was slightly different plan. It's going to get wild from here, buckle up.
So Tim Hands writes, hoping we get to see or learn what happened to the Prime Universe Lorca. Will be a real kick in the teeth if that isn't explained over the final 3 episodes. I will agree.
Yeah, we need to see what's happening with Lorca in every universe, definitely.
Yes.
Chris Chaplin says, on Lorca, throughout the season, Lorca has been one of my favorite characters to watch. I wanted him to simply be a different kind of Starfleet captain, a Cisco-like leader who goes even farther and who can too live with it. But I feel like his character becomes less interesting if he's from the Mirror Universe. I'm disappointed that such a rich character has been declawed dramatically. However, I expect the unexpected on Discovery and want to see more.
I will agree with you on that one because I think this Sunday's episode is going to be intense.
Yeah.
So Joshua DeVries, I apologize if I butchered that name. Now that Lorca has been revealed to be an antagonist, I predict Saru will invite Burnham to be his first officer, or the two of them will once again find themselves in competition for the captain's chair. So excited to see how this season ends. So is Lorca really, the Mirror Universe Lorca, really an antagonist? Because he's trying to dethrone the Emperor.
Yeah.
That will be interesting to find out.
Yeah. Christopher Mock says, funny, we've all been saying for months he doesn't act like a typical Starfleet captain. We were right. He's not. I find it interesting just how many times the pendulum of power has swung in this mirror universe. We have the Terran Empire, which gives way to peace, thanks Spock, and the rebels from what will eventually be called the Alliance, and humans become the rebels, late DS9.
Yeah, what if, since Lorca takes out the Emperor, what if it becomes what we see in TOS? See, it could happen.
Yeah.
So Ben Nicholson writes, a very enjoyable episode. I can see the season coming to a climax now. One thing I am not sure about on first watch is Giorgio's weapon that went through people's heads. As for the thing that the predictions of Lorca being from the Mirror Universe, that still surprised me a lot as I had convinced myself that he wasn't. Now this leaves the question, did Lorca die on the USS Boran? Or will the non-Mirror Lorca come back and will Culber somehow come back from the dead and somehow see he is still seems to be alive somewhere? P.S. I love the Palace ship. That's a lot of questions, and I have to wonder, I think we're going to see Lorca again. Or the Prime Universe one.
Yeah. All right. There's a prediction right there. Brandon Shea Mutella says all mirror universe Terrans have sensitive eyes? ? Yeah, that's dumb. And I don't buy Burnham figuring out that Lorca is the mere Lorca based on the lines that Giorgio was saying triggered memories of past conversations with Lorca. That's not good writing. I saw a couple comments like that. I really enjoyed that montage of scenes where she's, saying these things and she's remembering and it's sort of putting the pieces together, but that's just me, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing it because I went, we were all right. Holy crap, we were all right. I mean, I have to wonder if Discovery was released like in one fell swoop.
Right.
Would we have been able to see it as quickly as we did, watching it like from sunrise to sunset, watching it that whole weekend? Would we have seen and be able to map out how everything is? So,
yeah. Well, and I think because we are such in the fandom, and so we have been talking and dissecting and analyzing, we saw it. So maybe that, the connecting the dots seemed a little too obvious, but I always wondered, for those first time Star Trek people, they probably needed it. I mean, because I don't know if I hadn't seen Star Trek and if I hadn't been listening to all of these podcasts, would I have picked up on it? So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, hopefully everyone who is a new fan watching this, I hope they have been enjoying it. And I hope that anyone who has just been a fan for many, many years has been enjoying what we've been seeing. The only thing I don't like is, like I said, I just kind of wish there wasn't a season break, but hey, It is what it is. I'm not stomping the grounds of CBS All Access going, we need this. No, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, there was obviously some discussion about our Dr. Hugh Culber, and there was a good discussion, a little back and forth. Brandon Coles says, so was Dr. Culber a ghost or what? And Serena Rodriguez says, it's possible his essence somehow got trapped in the network or something, a la Spock's brain or the schizoid man. Dan McWilliams says, maybe an echo like Guinan in the Nexus. So do you think Culber is going to continue to show up in this spore world, or is he done?
Well, it even said on After Trek, because when the actor who plays Culber was actually on there, and one of the writing staff said, you will see him again. So I don't think,
but that was 2 weeks ago, and we saw him in the Spore universe.
True. I don't think he's done yet. I mean, he might actually come back, or they might be able to. Would you be opposed if they reset the clock, so to speak, and able to save him before his neck was broken?
I love reset buttons. I'm not going to lie. I do. So I'm totally fine with it. I was thinking that Culber was like a figment of Stamets' mind to help him adjust to the Spore universe. So I didn't see Culber as an actual, that he was alive. In my mind, he was there because Stamets needed him to be there. So he was a figment of Stamets' mind.
Yeah, I that makes sense. And it was a kind of, he was needed to be there to help him focus on what needed to be done. And he even says at one point, I wanted to get you away from the other guy just to let you know what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes total sense to me. So we had Remy Courier, hopefully I said that right. I was definitely hoping for Culber to be physically resurrected somehow, but staying around as a spore ghost is pretty cool too. So maybe we might see that.
Yeah, we just might. James Berglund says, I am glad that Stamets got to say goodbye to his husband. And yes, I agree. I like that.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah. So as we talked about, us Star Trek fans have had lots of predictions, and we have been right about the Tyler Voke and right about Mirror Universe. So even though it's predictable, the fans really felt that they were good reveals. And Christopher Mock says, we see a lot of this coming because most of us has been around 30 plus years with the franchise and have watched every episode countless times. But for the casual viewer, these twists and turns are everything. I know they're coming, but I'm still in awe at how they pull them off every time. And I agree.
Indeed. Dennis Trimathic, yes. Truly amazing episode with amazing reveals. It was just amazing. I agree.
Amazing. Yeah. Bill Sweet says, I think that about does it for all the big fan theories. So now what the hell are they going to do? I can't wait to see. Bottom line, it still has me yelling at least 3 times per episode. Right? You just can't help it. You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So Lee Hutchinson says, we all moaned and groaned and cried with all the delays, but it's given the writers so much time to make these scripts richly prepped with clues and nuggets along the way. So when the reveals and twists come, we can see the straight line, and we don't fall into the fallings of a Bashir is enhanced all along reveal. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So definitely props to the writers. And, if the time is what they need, then we will take it, because the reveal in this episode, all of them were just amazing. So on to, Davis, you talked about these sensitive eyes and that all the Terrans have. Mark Rodriguez says, so all Terrans in this version of the Mirror Universe have light sensitive eyes? ? They must have come up with some fix soon, because Captain Kirk will be visiting and those Terrans didn't have any light sensitivity. Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
That will be interesting how they either retcon it or explain in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm. So Emily Barth writes, when Giorgio said that I did a double take, supposedly she just found out about existence of a parallel universe, but then she suddenly knows how the single physical difference is light sensitivity. What? Where does this information come from?
It just sort of came out of left field.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I know Giorgio did say the United Federation of Planets, so she had to know a little bit about the other universe.
Well, and she is emperor, so she probably is privy to a little bit more information than just your standard captain. So
true.
And maybe she knows about Lorca and his leaving the universe to go to a different one. I don't know.
That's hopefully a question we'll have revealed before the last episode of this season.
Yeah. Christopher Baca says, not happy about the Lorca reveal. The eyesight thing makes no sense. Like they pulled it out of their... Guys, stop swearing. I can't say it. So, guess we'll see where it goes from here.
And then Stephen Savoy writes, that did seem weird, though Giorgio did mention something about the Terrans acting this way for a millennia. I'm going to guess they effed up Earth long enough ago where they had all developed light sensitivity. I'm on the fence with the absurdity of it. It was interesting how she did say it was over the Terran Empire reigned over a millennia ago. Was that right?
I missed that, and I didn't get to. So on my rewatch, I will look for that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
Yeah. Patrick Carlin writes, since both Mir Giorgio and Mir Lorca both have the photosensitivity, and Lorca was on the Palace ship for a good while, it seemed, being the Emperor's right hand, could it have something to do with whatever that giant glowing orb in the center of the ship is?
That could actually makes some sense right there.
Yeah.
Especially if Lorca was her right-hand man for a while. That could actually, develop some type of eye sensitivity to it.
Yeah, there's something with that orb there. Yep. All right. Well, on to a more difficult subject to cover. And Saru and the Kelpians and taste like chicken. So, Christopher Query writes, whenever I see Saru from now on, he'll just make me hungry. I wonder if Kelpian tastes like chicken.
So Eddie Hagler writes, will they ever be able to look at each other the same way when Saru finds out she ate a Keplian?
Yeah,
that was weird. That was a weird.
It was. I gagged a little when I saw it. Yes.
Well, it wouldn't have been so bad, but right before I started watching the episode, I was having dinner and I was having Chinese. And when I started looking at it, I was like, well, this is interesting.
Oh, and the chopsticks and everything. Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Shea Matella writes, was it just me or did the Kelpian they ate look like Saru? Eddie Hagler says, he's considered cattle. He could easily have been transferred like supplies. Brian Diggs writes, Burnham chose Mirror Universe Saru. She thought she was saving him. Brandon Shea, so that was Saru? It went by so quick I wasn't sure. Then the question is, why is he on that ship? Brian Diggs, the Emperor had him brought over to test Burnham. So that little interplay really had me wondering if it was Saru, if it wasn't. And I think later throughout the day and the next day, it was decided that it wasn't Saru, but it sure looked like Saru.
Yes, it did. Yes. I was wondering that because Jason Chapman writes, Kelpian. They were eating Kelpian. So gross. That's the only thing I remember from the episode this morning. Going to have to rewatch it again.
Right? That just sticks in your brain. Even more than when they were the Klingons eating Giorgio.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. Josh Truax says, Emperor Giorgio eating Kelpian threat ganglia as a delicacy is creepy, yet strangely artful reversal of her prime counterpart's fate. See what he did there?
Yes. Tim Robertson writes, this show is the 7-layer dip of Star Trek. You dip in and find something else you love. I'm going to need to watch it again to see everything I might have missed. It's pretty dark, and now we are eating Kelpians. First, the Klingons ate Giorgio. Who's next? What kind of wine goes with Kelpian?
And if you don't know Tim, Tim he's my wine guy. I always go with him on wine tastings, and he lives in California, so I just had to throw that in there because he could pair a wine with Kelpian. I am sure of it.
but Tim does have a good point. How, I have probably watched all of the Discovery at least 2 to 3 times an episode just to go back and see what I have missed. And I can't tell you what other show that I actually do that with, just to be able to point out going, oh, this is cool. Or, oh, I didn't even realize that the first time around. So.
Yeah. Well, and especially rewatching it after listening to the many podcasts and people's, analyzing, and especially after Chris Jones' notes from The Edge, you get so much more and you see more connections. And so it just makes it richer and more complex. This is a good show.
Indeed.
Well, that leads us to our final thoughts. And Ryan Bramble says, so they'll find the original Lorca hiding in the mirror, revive Culber, and get home safely and happily ever after, right? Yeah, that's a nice summary. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin H. replies, wow, what a great episode. I knew it was a possibility, but the Lorca reveal still caught me off guard. I think it caught a lot of people off guard because I think a lot of people thought it may have been a red herring, but I think it was spot on. So did Lorca bring Michael, the discovery, and most importantly, the spore drive to his universe as a peace offering of sorts for Giorgio? Does he want back in on the Terran Empire? Can't wait till next week. I agree. I wanted to watch more. I wanted to find out what was going to happen next.
Yeah, but his questions is like, is he bringing all of this to sort of get back to if he had power in the mirror universe, as an offering to Giorgio?
Well,
that's interesting.
I mean, you've got to say, he said probably one of the best lines in the whole show. It's good to be the captain.
It is. And Kate Linford writes, it would seem that Burnham is unintentionally leading the Discovery into a trap. There's no way the Emperor is going to just happily let them be on their way. She's going to want to strip Discovery and its crew of anything she might find entertaining or an asset. Saru is going to be her appetizer. Burnham might need to collaborate with Lorca just to get out of this one and play on his affections for her. Interesting. One thing is clear, Burnham is definitely going to need therapy when they somehow get back to our universe. I'm guessing Lorca will eventually tell them how he did it and Disco will make it back.
That's a possibility. So Duncan Barrett writes, I really enjoyed this episode, but I'm slightly concerned now that we have a second character whose PTSD seems to not be entirely genuine. With Tyler, I think the jury is still out on what exactly happened and what he remembers, but Lorca basically faked a mental illness recovery, right? He definitely played along with it because it suited his interest. He's basically malingering. In any case, his motives don't really matter. I'm more thinking the show itself has twice presented mental illness as something that is not entirely real. Aside from Lorca, we have Tyler suffering PTSD from a rape that may not have really happened. I love Discovery, but I do think it is sometimes sends out some unintentionally dubious messages. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because in previous postcards and I'm sure on other, podcasts, the PTSD has been discussed, especially with Tyler and Vogue. And then when we saw Lorca with the phaser, sleeping with the phaser, these scenes really hit home for a lot of people, especially those who suffer from PTSD. And so they've sort of taken away the bite of the reality of it by saying, well, Lorca is this way because he's mirror universe. Well, it wasn't really rape. And, so that sort of takes out the bite. So I found it interesting. And I thank Duncan for his comments. Yeah,
absolutely. Because there's even that one comment when Cornwell is actually talking to Lorca and she asked him something and he doesn't remember what they did. And that could, and essentially sometimes be explained with people who have memory loss, who have suffered from any type of something dramatic. So you could almost explain that. But now seeing he's a mirror universe Lorca, well, of course he didn't do it because it's not him.
Exactly. So, Davis, how do you think the fans responded to this week's episode?
I have to say, when you put up the thread for the new post for the episode, I think I was the very first person to say I'm starting to watch it. And after that, it was just an onslaught of comments. And I got to say, everyone was so positive and just wanting to bring everything they knew about the show so far to the table that it was just such a delight. I mean, I even just did a quick rate the show 1 to 10 go, and 4 or 5 people responded and they said it was either a 9 or a 10. And it was just so wonderful to see how much positivity that was addressed. I mean, yeah, there was some, they were given the feedback. They're going, oh, it's a short episode, or, oh, I didn't like this, or I didn't like that. But overall, it was just a very positive and uplifting conversations to have. It was like we were all around a big table just talking about it.
It was, definitely. That's why I love doing postcards, because I love hearing what the fans have to say. And I agree with you. They were very positive. There's definitely some questions, and wondering how are they going to resolve this? How are they going to answer this? I didn't hear anything because, as you know, I do this every week, and I usually hear something about, the production level, this and that, and like some real negative comments about the episode, but I didn't really see it, at least in my thread. So I have to agree. I really enjoyed this episode, and when it gets to the end and you can sort of sense it, and then please don't be over. Please don't be. Oh no, it's over. And you just want more. It's a good show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, listeners, thank you so much for your comments, and be sure to check out all of our Discovery coverage throughout the week. As you know, Live from the Edge airs on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you can watch Bruce and Brandy and ask questions live, and then that will be released as a podcast on Tuesday mornings. Our commentary will be available as Tracks from the Edge on Wednesday with Mike Schindler, and that's a great show. I love Mike's commentaries. They do great, Mike and Max.
Oh, yeah.
And so we, of course, get your feedback on Postcards from the Edge on Thursday, and then you can catch a full analysis on the Edge main show on Friday with Brandon Shea Mutella and his guests. To wrap up the week, join us for Notes from the Edge on Saturday for links between Discovery and the broader franchise with Chris Jones. And as we mentioned, that's a really good podcast to listen to.
Oh, yes. Considering how much he actually pulls from even the literary universe, it is just amazing how much time and effort he puts into that.
Yes, definitely. Well, you'll find all of these in the main feed for The Edge and in the Trek FM master feed. And of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is on the Babel Conference. That's our listeners group on Facebook. And you could also send us an email. That is on trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show, and then, of course, choose The Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM. So, Davis, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me inside the Babel Conference, because I do enjoy listening to everyone's comments and seeing how things are. But if you want to follow me, you can find me on Instagram at Springer_2017. And if you'd like to see different action figure photos, that's the place you want to see.
Yes, they are so good. And you're so good with it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And also, I also have a podcast it's called Couch Potato Theater. It is on the Fandom Podcast Network. We have been covering different movies. We just did this past Christmas the Doctor Who special. Not the Doctor Who movie from 1996. And we did a commentary. And then we just recently did one of Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. So be sure to check those out.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we would like to thank our associate producers. They are Norman Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, and Cornelia Reutner. Thank you so much for supporting Trek FM and The Edge. Now, if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an associate producer like those, visit patreon.com/TrekFM for all the details. Well, Davis, thank you so much for coming on Postcards. This was a lot to read and a lot to discuss. I just really appreciate you coming on and finally get you on my show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on board. It was such a pleasure to actually talk about Discovery, because it has been such a wonderful ride so far.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, join us next week for another episode of Postcards from the Edge. Hailing frequencies open.